The worst movie ever made. What exactly is the worst movie ever made? A question that has long plagued our society. You may have some random obscure opinion. You may say the MGK movie. You may say Tiny Town. You may say Jack and Jill, you disgust. Well, whatever your answer may be, I have actually watched every single 0% rated movie on Rotten Tomatoes. So now I will be finally and definitely answering this question. So you probably clicked on this video thinking that that title is a lie and that I didn't actually watch all of these movies. Firstly, that really hurts. You know, I trust you guys, and you should trust me to watch all of these movies, all these really shitty movies. And secondly, you're kind of right. I had one speculation that I added to these movies. They had to have at least 40 reviews because there was a lot of 0% movies, 42 to be exact. However, some of them had like very small amounts of reviews, like 5 or 6, and some of them had like 20. I decided to go 40 because I wanted to make sure people actually cared and actually hated these movies. So now I have all 10 of these movies pulled up on totally legal sites. But now with my totally legal sites pulled up, we can get right into the video. We're gonna be starting off with Jaws 4, The Revenge.
This time, it's personal.
The only thing actually personal about this film is how much I personally hated it. So this bastardized version of Jaws immediately retcons anything that was enjoyable about the previous installments in the series, and instead focuses on the great white shark, and he now has this supernatural power to track the family wherever they go. He even follows them all the way to Jamaica. What? But our conflict begins on Christmas Eve night when a sheriff, who's the son of the sheriff from the first movie, goes out to sea late at night to remove a log from a buoy that is supposed to be stopping fishermen from getting into the village, or island, I don't know. Either way, the log is just way too big, so he's struggling to move it, and then boom, shark attack. Oh, Merry Christmas, guys, Happy Holidays. It's Christmas morning, what'd you guys get me? Oh my god, it's my dead son. Now, the family also has this weird connection where they can tell when the shark is attacking. The director said that he was trying to take a mystical take on the series to keep it like fresh and new, and hey, maybe don't do that. Maybe let's not. Either way, the shark shows up in Jamaica now and attacks Michael's boat. It doesn't kill him, but it does attack his daughter and wife later on. It kills his mother-in-law. Michael seems to be sexually angry about every single woman in this movie, except for his daughter. Thank God. So after all this, and Ellen, Mrs. Brody, has been having these visions, she decides to steal Michael's boat and go out and hunt the shark down on her own. It jumps in the air, brings down an airplane, pulls it under the water. I don't know how. Mrs. Brody hits it with a boat, and then it just explodes. I think I would probably give this movie 1 exploding shark out of 10. The effects look terrible. The shark is ugly. The acting is some of the most miserable acting to have ever hit the big screen, and it's just full of plot holes. Okay, so the next entry on this list is actually the record holder for the worst reviewed movie of all time. It's called Ballsack. Fuck. I mean, Ballsack. Fuck. Okay, I mean Ballsack. Shit. Either way, we start off on the shot of a woman staring at a plane. Her son comes off the plane. Then we cut to her driving away with her son, but the DIA stops her to bring the son to her husband, which is weird because they're still together and she was driving to his place. She literally still went there right afterwards. So I don't know why the DIA stopped her to pick up the kid, because he would have been brought to the husband either way. But then Lucy Liu attacks the DIA and kidnaps the kid. So I guess it was just to drive the plot forward, but couldn't she have just attacked the mom? Intense action scene out of absolutely nowhere. Oh yeah, did I mention that this is an action movie? And when I say action, I mean action movie. So So the kid that Lucy Liu kidnapped is Gant's kid, but that's also not Gant's kid, and that's also not Gant. That's actually Michael, but that's actually not Michael. That's actually Gant, but that's actually not Gant, but that's actually Secret Agent Clark, who's also not secretly Agent Clark. What am I saying? But he's not Secret Agent Clark. He's actually Gant, but he's also not Gant. He's Michael, but he's also not Michael, but he's also Secret Agent Clark, but he's also not Secret Agent Clark. Are you keeping up? So there's some more action scenes to pad the watch time. And then, Gant, but also not Gant, but also actually Gant, has put some bionic frog into his own son's blood cells that just fucking kills you. Lucy Liu is breaking Antonio Banderas out of prison. Why was he in prison? I'm not sure now. Gant, but also not Gant, but also actually Gant, has blown up 2 cars, one with Antonio Banderas and one with his wife in it, and the other thinks that the other was in each car. I don't know, man. I'm getting really lost. And holy shit, that was the slowest, fastest paced movie that I have ever seen. I highly suggest totally avoiding this movie. Please never watch it unless for some reason your eyes need to experience blunt force trauma. I really can't think of any other reason to watch this movie. So I do actually have to give this movie -11 killer bionic frogs out of 10. I have never seen an atrocity this bad in my entire life. Okay, so next up we'll be watching the 2002 version of Pinocchio.
Father, when can I leave to be on my own?
No, it's not that one. It starts off really weird from the beginning. There's just a sentient log that's bouncing around the entire city until it lands at Geppetto's house, and he takes it in and turns it into a big adult man. Why is Pinocchio a big grown adult man? Seriously, I can see his hairline receding more than I can see his nose growing. But Pinocchio is actually just a menace to society, and so Geppetto gets arrested for Pinocchio's crimes, and we quickly shift into a prison break movie. Not like Pinocchio really cares that much, though, because he just runs off to a puppet show and kisses a giant on the nose for 5 gold coins. Anything for money. But like the good crypto bro that he is, Pinocchio quickly falls for a get-rich-quick scheme. And he goes to court to testify against the people that did it to him. However, the court, for some reason, throws him in prison, and once again, we shift into a prison break movie. But he quickly gets out of prison just to go back to the fairy's house, where she has a headstone claiming that she died and that it's all Pinocchio's fault. But the fairy's actually still alive, just in the Middle East, straight for the thighs. From here on out, it's really just the classic Pinocchio story that we all know and Hollywood thinks that we all love. He runs off to Fun Foreverland, gets turned into a donkey, they tie weights to his feet, and they throw him into the bottom of the ocean. He gets eaten by a megalodon. Inside the megalodon stomach, his dad berates him, blah, blah, blah. He watches his best friend die right in front of his eyes. You know the whole story. I'm not sure why this movie has a 0%. I would probably give this movie 4 fake headstone pranks gone wrong out of 10. It really does kind of just suffer from bad acting, a creepy looking Pinocchio, poor visual effects, and a lack of understanding of its audience. It's still not the worst thing on this list, though. Next up on the list, though, is National Lampoon's Gold Diggers, which, despite the name, has absolutely nothing to do with the actual National Lampoon's movies. If anything, it does a better job of being a Dumb and Dumber reboot. It follows 2 down-on-their-luck orphans, Lenny and Cal. They're stealing from people in LA until they meet these 2 old ladies who the orphans think are super rich because their dad owned a condom company. However, they're not super rich. So comedy ensues after they get married, of course.
You know, by law, a marriage isn't legal until it's consummated.
Lenny and Cal try to drug the girls, but end up drugging themselves, and then the girls try to poison the lemonade to kill Lenny and Cal. However, they end up poisoning the gardener. Lenny and Cal cover the bathroom floor in lube so that the girls will slip and die. However, they end up killing the plumber, and then the girls try to release a snake. However, it bites the neighbor in the crotch. Very highbrow humor. They decide to team up and kill the rich uncle. Again, comedy ensues. So don't hate me for this, but I don't think this is the worst movie ever made. It's super predictable, half the jokes don't land, and the first 30 minutes of this movie are just god-awful boring. It's still not the worst, so I'm probably gonna give it 5 horny old women out of 10. And now we're moving on to Superbabies 2, Baby Geniuses. So the movie starts off with a group of babies discussing a super baby named Kahuna, who is apparently a World War II hero, and he stopped Captain Kane's evil plan at the Berlin Wall. What was his evil plan? Doesn't tell us. Kahuna is this super buff Giga Chad baby, or whatever you want to call this thing. But either way, moving back to current times, Biscayne, who is obviously just Captain Kane from the flashback, somehow the babies actually do know that, which doesn't make any sense because they've never seen Captain Kane. But either way, he's trying to start a children's television network, but evil. How is it evil, you may ask? Well, that's because he's going to use the programming to hypnotize babies all around the world and make them work for him or something, I guess. I don't know what the end goal of his plan was. A group of workers from this television company, they drop their DVD into a stroller, and Kahuna beats the shit out of them for wanting it back. And then the 72-year-old man drives off with the babies and brings them to his secret lair where he puts them in a machine that gives them superpowers. Also, it's really weird how the 2 white boys, they get like normal superpowers, and then the girl, she gets like a love-based superpower, and then they just turn the African-American kid into a basketball.
Can our brother get some water? Get back to work.
But we find out Kahuna's backstory. After the First World War, his father wanted to create a serum that would give soldiers the energy of a baby. I'm not sure what his thought process behind this was, because I don't think of energy when I think of babies. I mean, all they do is eat, shit, and sleep. Either way, Kahuna has now drank the serum on accident, so he stays a super baby forever, while his older American brother grows up to be a German man.
You think I went to all this trouble just because Dad liked you best?
Kahuna shows up at the premiere of this children's television network where he's fucking killed. But not actually. He just gets arrested by Biscayne, who turns out to be his brother. Fucking obviously. Other babies use their new superpowers to beat the shit out of Biscayne, and the day is saved. So this movie is really bad, and I mean like really bad. Like, I hate absolutely everything about it. Nothing is really redeemable. I have to give this 0 super diapers full of super shit out of 10. But I mean, at least it didn't have this thing that the first one did. Okay, but we're finally halfway through this list, so let's just keep moving. Next up is One Missed Call, or as most viewers would refer to it, one hot fucking piece of shit. The movie opens to this party scene, and this girl, who is our main character, but I don't know her name, she is the only person at this party who can hear the doorbell, which doesn't make any sense because she's all the way on the other side of the house. Why is she the only person that can hear the doorbell? But we find out that there's a killer, and before you get killed, you'll get a call on your cell phone that will be from your future self, and it will be, you get to hear your death, basically. And then when your body's found, you'll have a piece of candy in your mouth. Why? Because scary. Blah, blah, blah. People are getting the phone call. People are dying. Now there's a priest. He wants to exorcise the demon on national television. Now there's a detective, and he's saying that he checked the call logs, which no other detective thought of doing. As you can probably tell, the plot has already gone right out the window. Our main character finally gets a call, so she's gonna go investigate the call. Obviously, this movie is really boring. I need to say that. I don't know what to say about it. It's really boring. And so she decides to investigate the call, which takes her to this 1970s burned down mental hospital, except it didn't burn down in the 1970s. It actually just burned down a few days ago. I don't know why it looks like it's out of the 1970s. Either way, our main character crawls into the vents of this mental hospital, and she finds a dead body. The dead body's holding a phone. It's making the phone calls. The phone is ringing. Her phone's ringing. The phone is making the call. So she smashes the phone. Boom. Movie's over. No. It's actually the dead body's the daughter who's making the phone calls. She has absolutely no reason to be killing these random people. I don't get it. Okay, so this movie sucked really, really bad. It's littered with plot holes. The ghost has no motivation or reason to be killing these people. The terrible acting makes it super hard to sit through this whole hour-and-a-half movie, and the CGI just looks goofy. So I'm gonna have to give this movie 0 CGI baby smoking a cigarette out of 10. Okay, so next up we are watching 1,000 Words. But I wish I had heard none of them, so... Eddie Murphy stars in this movie, and he's a talent agent who is trying to represent this religious leader named Dr. Sinja. Eddie's character, oh my god, where do I start? Eddie's character absolutely sucks. He's a compulsive liar, he takes advantage of his clients, and worst of all, he's just not even funny. So by the end of the movie, we're left without any sympathy for him, even though we're supposed to feel sorry for the guy. After trying to take advantage of Dr. Sinja, magically a tree appears in Eddie's backyard, and every time he says a word, the tree loses a leaf. There's only 1,000 leaves on the tree, so once he said 1,000 words, he dies. And anything that happens to the tree will also happen to Eddie Murphy. Anything, you say? Shit. So now Eddie can't talk, which leads to some terribly unfunny moments that made me realize, oh my god, Eddie Murphy is super outdated, even for a movie that came out in 2012.
I want my baby back, baby back, baby back. I want my baby back, real.
So Eddie gets fired from his job for not being able to talk, and his wife leaves him because he won't talk to her. However, I feel like he should have just explained it to his wife. I mean, he still has 1,000 words. Like, the tree's in your guys' backyard. Just walk her out there, do a quick explanation, show her, and you're good, buddy. But he never thought of that. I guess that might be a little bit too logical for this writing. And then Eddie changes into a better person and decides to show the world just how much he loves everybody. Once he makes this change, the tree grows all of its leaves back, and Eddie can now live forever, I guess, since he was linked to the tree, but I don't know. I guess the lesson of the movie was that actions speak louder than words. This movie is incredibly dumb. The humor is devoid of anything that could actually be funny, and halfway through the movie, it shifts into a drama, which doesn't work because we already don't like Eddie's character, and it's just really corny, although the drama is still kind of better than the comedy. If it had maybe been that from square one, then the movie would have been a little bit better. Still better than some of the movies on the list, so this one actually gets a 4 spontaneously sprouting trees out of 10. Next up, we have Left Behind, which is what I'm assuming happened to the DVDs when this movie came out on shelves. Anyway, this movie is a religious movie, so I'm going to try and keep that out of the review as much as possible just to respect everybody's religions, even if the movie doesn't. So this movie is about Nick Cage, his daughter, and a Kirk Cameron wannabe as they try to survive the rapture.
I love you. I miss you, buddy.
So the movie begins with Chloe arriving home to surprise her dad for his birthday. However, her dad, Nick Cage, who's also a pilot, is leaving to London to celebrate his birthday with the girl that he is cheating on his wife with. Chloe arrives home and she gets pissed off at her mom for being a Christian, so then she runs off to the mall with her brother, and that's when the rapture happens, which causes all kinds of disasters, from plane crashes, car crashes, death of innocent people, and just a spike in crime in general. For some reason, the passengers of the plane blame Nick Cage for causing the rapture, so he gives them this Erwin Smith style speech and they devote their hearts to landing the plane, but are immediately hit by another plane where the pilots got raptured away. Checking back in on Chloe, whose storyline has been super boring, somehow found a video of the two planes colliding. I don't know how she got the video. It doesn't exactly make sense, especially because even though this movie was made in 2014, they don't have smartphones. So she goes to this random runway that's out in the middle of nowhere, and she clears it with a... And once it's all cleared, Nick Cage and the Kirk Cameron wannabe, they get on Google Maps and they find this random runway and land the plane, and then all of them devote their lives to Jesus. Holy shit, this movie was awful. I'm gonna have to give it 0 pyramid tombs out of 10. Side note, did you guys know that Nick Cage bought a pyramid to be buried in? Okay, so now there's finally 2 movies left. First up, we have Gotti. And man, I gotta stop watching these terrible movies. The beginning of the movie really makes it seem like Gotti runs the mafia out of prison, which I thought sounded a lot like Polpo from JoJo's, but he doesn't have a kick-ass stand, so who cares? So now, about halfway through the movie, I know I'm skipping a lot, but I promise you're not missing anything. But Gotti rises to power over the mafia from killing the last boss. His name is Paul. What did Paul do? Man, I don't know. They didn't do a good job of explaining that. So trying to think of some other things that happened, so I wrote down a couple. Gotti won the trial. Don't even ask me what the trial's about. I don't know. After rising to power, Gotti gets arrested fairly quickly, it seems, and then he dies of cancer in prison, and it's just very rushed. I'm sorry this one is going to be super short. I'm going to give probably some more opinions on this one to help fill in the gap between times that I've had with the others. This movie is pretty boring, and I can't really say if it did a good job describing Gotti's life since I never heard of the guy. I mean, I have a lot of questions about him now, but they weren't answered in the movie, so I guess it didn't do a good job. The movie Gotti suffers a lot. Well, really, I suffered a lot watching it. I seriously wish there was more that I could say about this movie, but there's just really not. I can't think of much to say because, well, not much happened. So I'm going to have to give this movie 0
about spaghetti, meatballs or something.
out of 10. Whew. Okay, so we finally made it to the final movie on this list, The Last Days of American Crime. This actually had kind of a promising concept. Pretty much the government releases some like radio signal wave that changes people's brains where they can no longer commit any crime. However, immediately you can tell that the execution just went to shit. The writing is full of cliches. It's honestly some of the worst we've had on this entire list. The narration is boring, underperformed, and just way too dragged out. And then we get thrown into this random conflict with some crime family that has no motivation or context and definitely no explanation. And worst of all, it's just trying way too hard to come off as edgy. I genuinely got lost and confused with this movie within the first few minutes, which really sucked for me because I still had 2.5 hours to sit through. This movie has the most filler ever. I mean, shit, this story probably could have been told in like 40-minute tops. They just keep having random shit happen, like, oh, we have this new side plot with a cop. Adds nothing to the story. Now they're gonna go kill the head of the mafia. Adds nothing to the story. One of them has betrayed them. They've gone to speak to the FBI. Adds nothing to the plot. And then there's more filler action, more filler action, more filler act. Make it stop, please. Just... The story is almost non-existent. It is confusing to say the least, and it's just not worth my time. This movie is actually so boring that it is the only one on this list that took me 2 different seatings to watch the thing through its entirety. I genuinely have to give this movie 0 out of 10. I really want to highlight 3 movies individually. First movie I would like to acknowledge is going to win the award for the worst looking movie, the ugliest movie, and that would have to go to One Missed Call. The CGI looks terrible, the costumes look terrible, the movie looks terrible, the camera quality looks terrible, everything about this movie looks terrible. It is hard to watch. Secondly, I would like to acknowledge the most boring movie on this list, the one that put me to sleep, the one that took multiple sit-throughs to get through, and the only movie that stands a chance at this is The Last Days of American Crime. Holy shit, this movie will put you to sleep. I actually, throw it on, don't, but throw it on if you're trying to fall asleep, it'll work. And finally, I want to talk about the worst movie of all time. Ballsack. Shit, I mean Ballistic. Ballistic is the worst movie ever made. Hands down. Everything about Ballistic sucks. I'm serious. I can't think of a single redeeming quality. It is the worst movie ever made. Now, I didn't have to pay to watch any of these movies because I watched them on totally legal sites. However, I still feel like I need my money back. So if you would, please hit that subscribe button so I can make some money back. Oh boy, if you finish this video, I genuinely hope you found it way more entertaining than I found these movies. If you did enjoy this video, please make sure to leave a like and maybe a positive comment to help feed the YouTube algorithm. And if you really enjoyed this video, it would mean a lot to me if you subscribed to the channel and maybe shared it with some friends and family. That would be amazing of you, actually. Anyway, my name has been Josh, and if you'll excuse me, I need to go slam my head into a brick wall until I forget that I ever made this fucking video.